Shalom, everybody. We have insights on the Parsha of the week, Parshat Bo. Before we go into this, let us view from Rabbi Nachman's Likutey Moharan, lesson 24, how he explains a verse from this week's Parsha, specifically from the plague of locusts, Arbe, the 8th plague. The verse Rabbi Nachman quotes is Moshe Rabbeinu's response to Pharaoh. Pharaoh asks Moshe, Mi v'mi ha'olchim. You want to go and offer sacrifice in the desert? Fine. Who's going? So Moshe Rabbeinu answers, Bin'areinu v'zkenenu nelech. No more Moshe, right? Moshe said, in our young and in our old we will go. Bebanenu bivnotenu, with our boys and girls, our sons and children, sons and daughters. Bitzonenu uvivkarenu nelech, with our sheep and our cattle we will go. And why all of this? Ki chag Hashem lanu, because it is a festivity of Hashem for us. So festivity, the commentaries explain, means you want to enjoy yourself. And normally a man enjoys himself when he has his family together and the kids. And there's also meat. Meat is served on happy occasions. And we can't offer meat and eat meat here in Egypt because it's your abomination. It's your worst idol, and we'll be eating your idols. So we have to do this elsewhere. Okay? Rabbi Nachman shows on this verse that when a Jew does a mitzvah, in particular with joy, this mitzvah then gains momentum. It has movement, motion. That's the idea of halicha. The mitzvah begins to walk. And the walking means the momentum causes an arousal into what? Into the entire creation. Okay? So in this verse, it says, Bin'areinu v'zkenenu nelech, when the narenu and zekenim in the Kabbalah refer to high levels of existence. The nar and the zaken, the elder and the young. Okay, the lower levels are the children, the sons and daughters, and the cattle. Betzonenu v'vkarenu. That when a person succeeds in doing a mitzvah with joy, and by doing so extracts the holiness attached to that mitzvah, which was until now stuck in the domain of evil, of impurity, when doing the mitzvah now with joy, he's able to extract that from the realm of impurity. And now, with the shackles removed, the mitzvah now has its normal capacity and capability of doing its job. And what's the job of a mitzvah? The word mitzvah means two things. It's a commandment, tzivui. It also means letzavet, the connection. That it's our connection to Hashem, the Creator. The idea of the mitzvot we do in this world is to connect this entire world and everything in it through these mitzvot back to Hashem. That's the goal of the mitzvah. That's the idea of a mitzvah. It was reconnecting to God. So now, when a Jew does a mitzvah with joy, and he was released the holiness connected to that mitzvah which was stuck in the shackles of impurity, by doing a mitzvah with joy, Rabbi Nachman says you kill the klipot. The joy kills the klipot, you're able to extract the holiness, and then the mitzvah now gains momentum and wakes up the entire creation to come back to Hashem. And he says it's hinted to in this verse. Bin'areinu v'zkenenu nelech. Okay, the upper levels, narim, the young and the old, which are considered higher levels, they have a movement now. Due to what? That because also the lower levels, the sons and daughters and the cattle and the sheep and the cattle have a halicha. There's a movement. You are able to extract the holy sparks associated with the mitzvah, which are represented in the idea of cattle and sheep, which are the animal level of creation. By now doing the mitzvah of joy, everyone goes back up. The Arizal himself explains how all the 10 levels of energy of the Sfirot are hinted to in these 6 categories. We won't go into it right now, but just trust and believe that these 6 refer to all the levels of existence in the creation, and there's momentum going up. And this Rabbi Nachman teaches the power of a mitzvah. So now, there's few things here. Rabbi Nachman chose an example that this applies to all the mitzvot from this specific statement found in the plague of Arbe, and it's regarding the Korban Pesach. He's saying we're going to do this mitzvah of the Korban, the sacrifice to our God, which eventually was the Korban Pesach. In the end, they didn't have to leave Egypt to do it because Paro never let them out, so they ended up doing it in Egypt itself. Okay? And Rabbi Nachman, there's a question here. He took a verse from the plague of Arbe, which refers to the simcha associated with the mitzvah of the Korban Pesach. What's going on here? And he says this applies to all the mitzvot of the Torah. So we can understand a few things here. Okay? Number one, Arbe is a follow-up of Barad. The plague of locusts finished eating up what was left over from the hail. The hail, the verse says at the end of Parshat Vayera, that it destroyed everything that was out in the fields, including seorah, the oats, and pishta and flax. Flax was destroyed, which was clothing, and oats. Okay? And what was not touched was the chita and the kusemet, the wheat and the spelt. So there was still food. The commentaries say why wasn't everything destroyed? So in order to leave room for the arbe to continue. So food items were destroyed in barad and arbe. Okay? And arbe comes from the language of harbe, a lot. Okay? Excess. Because when the locusts they come in a swarm. Okay? Rabbi Nachman teaches that when a person, God forbid, is depressed, he falls into enticement of falling into his lusts. And as we know, the most common lust, the most common lust that people have a daily challenge with is those related with food. Okay? And food, there's what to eat, and when a person eats excess. Rabbi Nachman teaches that when a person goes into excess, it's a sign of depression. Like the verse reads, he brings a verse from Mishlei, Bechol etzev yeh motar. Whenever there's sadness, etzev, it refers to atzvut, sadness, yeh motar, there will be excess. Motar means excess, meaning the person falls into overindulging when he's sad. Okay? And the main overindulging that's common in society, more than sexual or money, the one that's common because you need to eat, you can't live without eating, is food. Okay? So the arbe is the plague that attacked the leftover food. And the idea of why Hashem left over, because in the realm of evil, when a person has a challenge, okay, there's sometimes a person is faced at a challenge and he falls. And then after falling, he falls even more. He's hit more. In other words, he's faced a challenge that breaks him. And it's not enough that this breaks him, but something else happens. The person feels really demoralized. He says, Hashem, not only did I lose this, but now I even fell even more. That's how the negative tries to attack a person. You see, not only did this happen, it's not enough that I fell this low, that I fall even lower. It's not already enough. I'm not suffering already from how much I fell from the first time. I have to fall now a second time. So that's the idea that the barad hit the initial plague, and then a second wave came for what was left over. You would think, okay, we can rebuild and start again. No, even that was taken away. That's how the Yetzer Hara works. He tries to take a person away, initial attack, and then when the person just is just trying to recuperate and trying to get back on his feet to start again, another wave hits him. Okay? To counter that, to break that from the evil side, Hashem sent them, Paro in Egypt, which represent the exile, sadness, this type of a double whammy. First you had the barad, and it hit your food, and you said, oh, thank God we still have the wheat and the spelt. Comes along, locust, and destroyed even that. As midah keneged midah, for what you did to the Jewish people, to make them so broken. It's not enough the slavery, but you did on top of that avodat parach, it's called, right? We saw in Parshat Shmot, there was the slavery, but then there was the excess slavery of parach, to break their morale. It's not enough that they're slaves, you want to also break their morale. Okay, it's like a double whammy. So to break that, to midah keneged midah, Hashem sent them arbe. So now the point is on us. Rabbi Nachman learns out that the power of a mitzvah, when done with joy, is to wake up the entire universe. He dafka learns this out from the plague of locusts, to show us that when a person feels overwhelmed, it's not enough this Hashem that I'm going through, I have to go through also this. Dafka then, a person has to try to, his way out is to do the mitzvot b'simcha. This is why Rabbi Nachman he chooses as his example to show us what the mitzvah actually does, specifically from this verse found in the plague of Arbe. And not Barad and not anywhere else, in a plague, and specifically the plague of Arbe, when a person feels overwhelmed, that they're trying to take away everything from him, and then after I want to start again, even that is taken away. So when a person is in that scenario, what can he do? Whatever he can do to connect to Hashem, because you can always connect to Hashem with mitzvot. We have tons of mitzvot to choose from. So even then, to be able to do that with happiness, and the byproduct is when you succeed in doing a mitzvah of all the pressure, all the difficulties, and you're able to do it with some modicum of joy, even a minimum modicum of joy, minimum, that mitzvah is pulled up and gets the whole world back to their creator, which is hinted to when Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Binarenu v'zkanenu nelech," right? "Bebanenu, bebovnenu, betzanenu, uvikarenu nelech," which bizoche that our mitzvot should have halicha, should have momentum. That's what's hinted to in the nelech, and Bezat Hashem, by getting our mitzvot to have momentum, which bizoche to wake up the whole world, all the craziness and the crazy ideologies of the people who are against Am Yisrael, and it's just so ridiculous and crazy how people think. Our job now is to strengthen ourselves in mitzvah performance, but to the extent of doing them with such joy that the mitzvah now can wake up the world. Shabbat Shalom Ubrach.